There is a quiet ache that lives in the spaces between words spoken and gestures offered. It lingers in the pause before someone calls your name, in the empty chair beside the circle of friends, in the unnoticed glance that never turns toward you. It is the invisible pain of feeling unchosen, of moving through life with a persistent sense of being overlooked, as if the world folds around others while you remain folded into yourself. It is not loud. It does not announce itself with cries or protests. It whispers. It curls in the corners of memory, shaping a subtle shadow across your days, and yet it is profoundly human. For all of us in some measure have known the sting of not being the first, not being the preferred, not being held as the one who matters most. Those who feel unchosen often carry an invisible backpack. It is light enough to be ignored, heavy enough to alter the trajectory of a lifetime. Invitations arrive, yes, but they come late. Compliments are given, yes, but they feel measured. And love itself can feel conditional, like a delicate vase offered to the world, only for others to claim. You notice it in childhood. The friend who is always picked first for games, the parent whose eyes linger longer on another sibling, the teacher who calls another student more often, praises another more deeply. You learn unconsciously that to be unchosen is to be less, that invisibility is a form of rejection. And yet it is not only childhood that writes this story, it grows with you. At work, in relationships, in moments when connection is offered to everyone but you. It is a quiet rhythm of disappointment that beats in your chest, a steady pulse of not quite enough. The origins of feeling unchosen are rarely singular. They are stitched together from countless threads of human interaction. Early attachment patterns, the subtle preferences of caregivers, the unpredictable tides of peer acceptance, all shape a mind into expecting marginalization. Psychologists describe this as a form of chronic social exclusion. The brain, in its intricate wisdom, registers each overlooked moment as a small threat, a subtle undermining of belonging. Over time, these moments accumulate. They sculpt the subconscious. The self becomes a quiet observer, scanning rooms, reading tones, waiting for signs of selection that rarely arrive. This pattern is amplified by the narratives of society. A world that celebrates winners, leaders, and chosen ones imposes invisible hierarchies. Even when you are seen, the comparisons persist. The self measures against others, and the result is often a sense of being perpetually passed over. Neuroscience has begun to trace the contours of this invisible pain. Social rejection activates the same regions of the brain as physical pain. The anterior cingulate cortex lights up with each perceived slight. Hormones like cortisol surge, a whisper of distress that can last for hours, even days. From a psychological perspective, the experience becomes self-reinforcing. A child who learns early that they are unchosen develops hypervigilance, scanning for cues of acceptance. Adults who feel the same pattern repeat may withdraw, not from disinterest, but from the expectation of rejection. The cycle becomes internalized. The anticipation of being unchosen shapes behavior, which in turn shapes perception, which confirms the expectation. It is not weakness, it is survival. The mind adapts to preserve itself in a world that often feels unkind. Yet within this recognition, a deeper conflict arises. You want to be seen, to belong, to matter, and you also fear the pain of exposure. You carry two selves, one that reaches, hoping for selection, and another that recoils, protecting against disappointment. This creates a subtle tension in daily life. Opportunities are avoided quietly. Vulnerability is rationed. Intimacy is tempered with caution. There is a constant calculation, conscious or not. How much of yourself can you offer without risking the inevitable disappointment? And so the invisible pain persists, not only because the world sometimes overlooks you, but because you have learned to preemptively guard yourself from it. Your very protection becomes another layer of being unchosen. Sometimes awareness arrives slowly. Perhaps it comes in the mirror, in a quiet moment of reflection, when the accumulation of years becomes visible in the lines of the face, the hesitations in speech, the careful distance in the eyes. Or perhaps it comes in witnessing the unchosen in others and recognizing yourself there. It is here that a subtle shift occurs. The realization is not loud or sudden. It is a gentle understanding that being unchosen does not erase the value of being, that the world's choices are not a reflection of inherent worth, but of circumstance, perception, and often randomness. It is the understanding that the self is not a ledger of selection. You are not diminished by omission. You are whole, regardless of who notices. Healing does not mean erasing the past. It means tracing the invisible lines that have shaped the self and learning to hold them without judgment. It is the practice of witnessing each moment of past exclusion with gentle empathy, recognizing the pain without allowing it to define the present. There is power in choosing oneself quietly and consistently, in cultivating a mind that can rest in its own attention, its own care, its own presence, in forming connections that are reciprocal, not conditional on selection, where value is inherent, not conferred. This process is slow, often imperceptible. It is not a grand transformation, but a softening, a turning of attention inward, where acceptance is first offered from within. It is the act of noticing the small joys, the subtle acknowledgments, the quiet moments when life chooses you simply by allowing your existence to unfold. The pain of being unchosen is a quiet companion, but it need not be permanent. It is a shadow that reminds you of the brightness of noticing. To feel unchosen is to have known the edges of human longing, the silent ache of invisibility, the tender weight of yearning. And yet, there is grace here. There is beauty in the self that persists, that continues to offer itself despite the world's indifference. There is courage in simply existing, in standing in the space you occupy, in allowing the world to pass by and still finding yourself whole. Perhaps one day the invisible pain will soften into a gentle awareness, a quiet companion that no longer dictates the rhythms of life. And in that stillness, you may see a truth that has always been there. The self, unchosen though it may sometimes feel, is unconditionally present. It is enough. The ache does not vanish, but it becomes transparent. You can watch it, acknowledge it, and move through the world without it defining your place. In the gentle reflection of existence, in the soft exhalation of being, there is a subtle miracle. You are seen by the one who matters most, you yourself.